I will run it first and then talk about it later. So here's the title screen. You hit play, and it brings you to the main screen. It can be either controlled on the keyboard to test it or on the device. If you touch the left side of the screen, the ice cube will go left. If you touch the right side of the screen, the ice cube will go right. The point of the game is to use your intuition. Obviously, if the ice cube goes in the fire, it will melt and you will lose, and it brings you back to the title screen. Notice it's hard to hear on this demo, but there is a fire crackle sound effect along with the animation. To win the game, you slide the ice cube to the right of the table into the chest. There's an animation. It displays win, and there's also a sound effect of the chest closing. My two scenes are the splash screen and player staging. And these are my scripts. Click to continue is attached to the play button. It's very simple. There's a variable to lock the screen. So when you do click the play button, it calls load scene, and load scene sets lock to true so you can't click twice, and loads the level, which in this case is the only level of the game, and the game level. Player controller allows me to map the controls in a separate script. When update is called, moving X and moving Y are both set to 0, so the player doesn't always move. If the game recognizes a touch, it checks for the position to see if it's less than half the screen width. If it is less than half the screen width, moving X is -1 to move to the left. If it's more than half the screen width, moving X is 1 and it moves to the right. This might be a little sloppy, but then I also have the keyboard controls in the same function. It works. You can move right, left. And I was also testing up and down, which isn't effective for the game, so I won't really talk about it because it's not relevant. Here is the player script, which is the cube of ice. You have your speed variable, your max velocity variable, Boolean if you're standing or not, which I guess isn't not relevant for this game. And these are not relevant for the game either. On start, you set the controller to be the player controller script I just talked about. Force X is 0, force Y is 0. The absolute velocity is just the velocity of the X direction. Absolute velocity Y, we don't need to worry about. So if moving.x is not equal to 0, meaning you're pressing an input button, if it is less than the maximum velocity described above, then do this tyranny operator. If you are standing, which in my game, I guess you're always standing, so only the first one is relevant, you move by the speed times the controller.moving x, which is either 1 or -1. So you're either moving the speed to the left or speed to the right. Local scale is not relevant because we're not scaling dynamically. Controller moving y, we're not going up in the game. That's just all stuff I was testing for future games and to learn. And add force. The force was only relevant in the y direction because when you're flying around, it made it easier to control the character when you applied a force to it. When you win the game, the show finish shows just that text that says win. So that's set to false initially. Set up the animator. The initial animation state is 0, which is just the box sitting there open. And the win message is set to false, which is the winning message. So when the ice cube falls into the box, there is a 2D collider. And if the object is the player, that means it's a correct collision. So you want to destroy the ice cube. You want to set the win message to true, so it says win. change the animation state to 1. That way it shows closing the box. Play the audio clip of the box closing, the box sound. Wait for 3 seconds so you have time to take everything in, and then load the title screen again. Pretty simple. And the lose script is pretty much the same thing. Initially set the lose message to false. And if the ice cube collides with the fire, and the colliding object is the player, which is the ice cube, then you want to destroy the ice cube. You want to set the losing message to true because you lost. You want to wait for 3 seconds to take it all in, and then you want to load the title screen. And that's about it. Thank you very much.